The Andy Pollin Show.
We got to go after this with everything we got, figuring they're going to come with everything they got.
I'll start off by saying I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630 starts right now.
In his parting words as Redskins coach, Steve Spurrier said, 5-11, not too good, not the worst, not the best either. 5-12, it's a little bit worse, but it's not the worst. It's not good. And the question is, does it get good again quickly like it did last year? Off-season of change coming for Washington. Certain to get a new defensive coordinator. Will they get a new offensive coordinator? Possibly. Will they get new players? Oh, yes. Some of the old players got to go, and maybe even Bobby Wagner, who reached a milestone yesterday, as great as he's been. It's time to turn the page. And in Baltimore as well, it's time to turn the page because the kicker that they drafted, when you draft a kicker, you expect kickers who are drafted to make big kicks. And the season came down to the kicker you drafted making a big kick, and he missed the big kick. A very makeable kick, especially in today's day and age. 44 yards, and Tyler Loop missed. He missed. And, I mean, it's the job. You understand that. You're not asked to do a whole lot, right? Most of the time, the kicker is standing on the sidelines unless there's a wild scoring game where you keep kicking extra points and kicking off. But this is what you're hired to do. This is why the team invested a draft pick in Tyler Loop, and Tyler Loop failed them in the biggest moment. I was not up watching, but I watched the highlights today, and Mike Tirico, who is as good as anyone who's ever done it and is at the top of his game right now, did this perfectly. It was all set up, and this is a great fourth quarter between these two teams fighting for everything. This is exactly what you asked for. NBC couldn't have ordered up a better game than this. And it comes down to, after a Zay Flowers catch, 2 seconds left on the clock, Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth at the microphone. And this is a clinic on how to broadcast what was an absolutely incredible moment in Pittsburgh last night.
The Ravens, of course, had Justin Tucker for so long. The most accurate kicker in the history of the league. Rodgers can't believe what he has just witnessed, what might be the end for him. But they went around the country and spoke to a lot of the kickers who were coming out. And they decided Tyler Loop was made of the right stuff for moments like this. He now has a chance to win the division for the Ravens. The final play of the regular season for the final spot in the playoffs. Tyler Loop from 44. Snap good. Hold it. The kick is no good. It is wide right. And the Steelers are the champions of the North.
And like the great broadcasters of all time working on television, they let the pictures do the talking. That's exactly what Tirico did for about 45 seconds here. So you see Mike Tomlin beating on his chest. You see the pained look on John Harbaugh's face. You see teammates consoling Tyler Loop. Just let it breathe. The temptation.
Wanted at least one more game out of Aaron Rodgers.
Yep, that's Collinsworth jumping in, maybe a little bit too early. More pictures. Tirico knows. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. Recap what happened in your mind, and then you're going to present to a national audience a perspective on what just happened. It is the most heartbreaking thing that a kicker can go through, and it affects all 52.
Season-ending heartbreak for the Ravens again. And for the first time since 2020, the Pittsburgh Steelers rule the North in the AFC.
There is no way, Mike, to practice the pressure of a game-winning free throw or a game-winning kick or a game-winning punt and the rookie succumbed that time.
The Ravens still in disbelief.
Can it be done any better than that? That was absolutely magical television last night. If you're a Ravens fan, it was incredibly heartbreaking television. If you're a Steelers fan, it was uplifting. If you're neutral, you just have to step back and admire just how well they did it. And the setup by Tirico, let me just play the setup again because this is just so good. A 44-yarder, that's these days where we've had, I think yesterday we had a 67-yarder. 60-plus is routine now. That used to be unbelievable. I mean, we went, the Tom Dempsey kick, we went decades before anybody made a kick that was 60 yards. And so now 44 yards to win the game. And it's Tirico setting it up. Okay, so Justin Tucker is gone. Doesn't explain why, but because of all the allegations of sexual harassment with the massage therapist, and by the way, still hasn't wound up back in the league. Only it was a 10-game suspension. Nobody has signed him, but they had moved on from the most accurate kicker in the history of the NFL, and I believe at the time they let him go, the 66-yarder was the longest of all time. That's now been broken with a 68-yarder, but what he's saying is they got this guy for the moment. He was the right man. He had the right stuff, and this is what he was brought in for. Here we go. I'm going to just play the intro again.
The Ravens, of course, had Justin Tucker for so long. The most accurate kicker in the history of the league. Rodgers can't believe what he has just witnessed, what might be the end for him. But they went around the country and spoke to a lot of the kickers who were coming out. And they decided Tyler Loop was made of the right stuff for moments like this. He now has a chance to win the division for the Ravens. The final play of the regular season for the final spot in the playoffs. Tyler Loop from 44. Snap good. Hold it. The kick is no good. It is wide right. And the Steelers are the champions of the North.
See, that's brilliant. That's just brilliant because he set it up in his mind. Tyler Loop's going to make this. He's going to make this kick. Is that the end of Aaron Rodgers? Has he played his last game? The Ravens can win the division. This is all set up for him. This is the guy they picked to do it. And then he failed, and he has to shift now to another narrative, one that was probably different than the one he had all rehearsed in his head as to what he would say, or at least the outline of what he would say once the kick went through. And then he handled it brilliantly. Now, on to the sidelines and Melissa Stark. And I saw some idiotic criticism of this on social media. Melissa Stark doing her job, interviewing Aaron Rodgers after the win, asking the right questions.
Aaron, what was it like watching that Ravens final drive?
That sucks. That's the worst part of this game. I'd rather have the ball in my hand. We haven't made it easy for ourselves most of the year, but it was a huge lift having this guy come back. This guy had a great pregame talk that got us focused, and on offense, we didn't handle our business in the first half, but the second half we came out with a different focus. When we had to have points, we went down and scored.
And you clinched the division. You're headed to the playoffs. What does this one mean to you personally?
It's pretty emotional, honestly. It's been a great year. So I'm thankful for these guys and excited to be going to the playoffs for the first time in a long while.
Does that mean you're riding off into the sunset after this?
No, it's been a grinding year.
Yeah.
And 2 years before that were tough as well. So it's been an absolute blessing to be here with these fans and this organization and Mike T and the leadership that we got with these guys. And I think we found that little bit, that's something special, which is belief tonight on the offensive side. And I'm proud of our guys, the way we responded in the fourth quarter.
Had to ask.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She was doing her job. And when she says, are you going to ride off into the sunset? It doesn't mean he's going to retire after this game, but I think the setup would be, okay, you've got one last playoff run here, or at least a playoff run this year, going off in the sunset like we've seen Peyton Manning do and John Elway do, winning a Super Bowl and walking away. Would that be in the cards for you? A lot of different things. She asked the right question. Somebody said it was unprofessional. Shut up. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. That was absolutely the right question, and he's typically evasive on these things. He likes to throw things out and have people react. And he's talked about retirement. He said going into the year this was going to be his last year. Now he's saying he's enjoyed it so much. So, just great work last night by NBC on that, and just really tremendous television. The heartbreak. And this is, I've found over the years when I've been a reporter that the more interesting stories are found in the losing locker room. The raw emotions, especially in a big game that comes down to the big kick. And the job of the kicker, and they know it, the job of the kicker is to stand there and answer all the questions. One of the most heartbreaking things I ever saw was the end of an Army-Navy game where Ryan Buccianeri was set up to kick, I think, like a 20-yard field goal. I mean, it was as much of a chip shot as there has ever been in that game. And it was to beat Army in what is the ultimate game for anybody who plays football at the Naval Academy. And Ryan Buccianeri basically choked. He pushed it wide right. Army won the game, and he never kicked again for Navy. I don't even know if he ever kicked in college again, but that was the end of his career on that kick. And he stood there for 20 minutes answering every single question. Tyler Loop missing the kick that he was hired to make. Of all the other kicks that he made this year, nothing compares to what he was asked to do at the end of that game. And he stood up there for like 7 or 8 minutes from what I saw and answered all the questions that people wanted to know and basically opened up his veins and let himself bleed.
Just free time like that sucks. And, I want to do better. And unfortunately, the nature of the job is, you have makes, and those are awesome, and unfortunately you have misses, and for that to happen tonight sucks. We've been through a lot of adversity this year as a team early on, and we fought, and we worked really hard together, and those guys have had my back, and I want to try my best to have theirs. And it's disappointing and it sucks, but also the nature of the job is I gotta move on, and I gotta get ready for the next kick, and that's next year, and tomorrow starts training for that, and spend the off season and the rest of the time getting ready for that. And I love this team and I love these guys, and I wish it had ended different. I'm super blessed to be here, and it's been one of the most amazing experiences being kicker for the Ravens. And it's time to move forward and get back to work so I can keep doing good things for Baltimore. And yeah.
Yep, saying all the right things, and you hope it works out for him. I would just point out, and it was a bigger game and a bigger kick, but Scott Norwood, who was asked to make a 47-yard field goal for the Buffalo Bills to beat the New York Giants. It touched off a 4-game losing streak, if you want to call it that, in the Super Bowl. They lost that Super Bowl and the next 3. I believe it's one of the most remarkable achievements in the history of sports for a team to get off the floor 3 times and get back. But had Scott Norwood made that field goal, the entire history of the Buffalo Bills is different. And he had made kicking has changed. And when that kick was missed in 1991, 50 yards was a long field goal. The longest field goal that Norwood had made during the 1990 season was 48 yards. So this was 47, and today you go, oh, yeah, you can make that in your sleep. Well, in those days it wasn't necessarily a gimme, but in that situation, that's what Scott Norwood was on the team to do. He was on the team to make that field goal. It was his 6th year in a 7-year career, all with the Buffalo Bills. He'd been a Pro Bowler once. Pretty good kicker, not the greatest kicker in the league, but they didn't need it. They were scoring like crazy. They had the keg on offense with Jim Kelly. Who cared about field goals? Just kick the extra points and kick off, and we'll worry about the rest. But it did come down to that, as Bill Belichick, the defensive coordinator for the Giants, had a great game plan for the Bills and kept it a low-scoring game to make it come down to that one field goal, which Scott Norwood pushed right. He was supported by his teammates. They had the parade in Buffalo, and, the first one, it was just, joy of making the Super Bowl. And the feeling with that team, with the players that they had, and Hall of Famers like Jim Kelly and Bruce Smith and Thurman Thomas. They were going to get back. They did. But they didn't win again. That was their best chance to win, and they didn't do it. And the fans were very supportive of Scott Norwood at the rally. He even spoke. But in the 1990 season, when he hit 20 of 29 field goals, in 1991 he came back. He was 18 for 29 and never kicked in the NFL again. And I'm not saying that's going to happen to Tyler Loop. I hope it doesn't. But these are the kind of kicks that can haunt you for the rest of your life and can haunt you for what could be the beginning of the end of your career. I can't imagine that even the Ravens will bring in another kicker in training camp next year to compete with him. But, man, it's, just like we grew up with the wide world of sports, the agony of defeat, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, and it came down to that. It came down to what was essentially nowadays an extra point. But the pressure, as Collinsworth said, there's no practicing for the game-winning free throw, for the game-winning putt, the game-winning field goal, and the heartbreak of Tyler Loop watching that happen, just absolutely unbelievable. And as for the Ravens, they face a lot of questions as well. Is John Harbaugh going to be back next year? There's, I believe, like a $70 million balloon payment that is due next year to Lamar Jackson. If he stays, they're clearly going to have to renegotiate. But do they work something out where he's not on the team anymore? I don't know. I mean, he played well in the fourth quarter, not so much first three quarters. But to put them in a position to win the game, which he did, which he absolutely did, and then to have it fall on the shoulders of this kid who, by the way, what I saw was he's had to shut down his Instagram account because idiots are making death threats to him, which is just insane. But that's the world we're living in now, and it also revolves around the betting, which has played a factor in this, and players and coaches have talked about this, the vitriol that comes from the fans because they lost, a $75 bet or whatever it was, is scary right now. And Tyler Loop, you gotta feel for him today as what he was supposed to do didn't happen. All right, we will get to the Commanders. Bobby Wagner reached a milestone. They got their fifth win. Whoop-de-doo. What to do in the offseason. New coordinators coming in, most likely. We'll talk about all that and more as we continue. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
All right, I'll try to keep track of these as best I can. That Raheem Morris is out as the coach of the Atlanta Falcons after only 2 years. I think there's a real possibility he's going to come here. He's worked with Dan Quinn before. When Quinn got fired as the head coach in Atlanta, Morris took over as the interim coach. Joe Witt, God bless him, I think he's probably gone, and that Morris would take over as the defensive coordinator, though Quinn did allow for the possibility that he'll be calling the defensive signals next year. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he'll bring in a defensive coordinator. It could be Raheem Morris. Also available now is Kevin Stefanski, who was just fired by the Cleveland Browns after they finished like the Commanders, 5-12, but it was his sixth year in their fourth losing season under Stefanski. And they've announced that Andrew Berry, who came along with Stefanski in 2020, is going to be back. So that's two openings now with Atlanta and Cleveland. And this is Black Monday. This is when the coaches get fired. So we'll keep an eye on what happens there. Meantime, I should mention this since I spent so much time on the Tyler Loop miss. I did see this before the game, that there was a priest who was seen blessing the end zone where the uprights were that Loop missed the field goal. He blessed them with holy water. I don't know what the reason for it was, why he was on the field doing that, but yes, you can probably find that on social media. There's a priest blessing the end zone with holy water. And, if you're a certain age, you can't help but think of the Immaculate Reception in December of 1972, which has been rated as the greatest play in NFL history because nobody knows exactly whether the ball hit Frenchie Fuqua first or Jack Tatum first. And in those days, the ball could not be touched consecutively by offensive players. So if Fuqua hit the ball first, it did not hit Jack Tatum. and it bounced off to Franco Harris, who took it in for a touchdown. It should have been called back. So, what is it, 53 years, 54 years, 53 years after the Immaculate Reception, we had, the holy water miss? I don't know. Could it take on some kind of significance in years to come? You'd hate to think so for Tyler Loop. The loop-de-loop miss? I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner now with 2,000 career tackles. There have been only 2 other players in the history of the NFL who have recorded 2,000 career tackles. One of them was in the locker room last night to present him with the game ball as Dan Quinn made a big ceremony out of this after the win over the Eagles.
There's only one game ball to go out tonight, and I brought one of the old heads in, so Fletch!
All right, man.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, in the history of the National Football League that's been played over 100 years, there have been 3 players to eclipse the 2,000 tackle mark. Only 3 players. So Ray Lewis, myself, and today, Bobby Wagner.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you, man. Ever since I got out here, man, the love of the game, you guys helped bring that back to me. And, I know we've had some up and downs, but I would never want to go ups and downs with this group. This group is special. It means something to me. It's something I'll always remember. I'm so grateful for you guys, and let's keep pushing.
Tell you about it.
When he says keep pushing, we don't know whether or not he's going to be helping to do the pushing. I'll get to that. But this was the reaction in the news conference when he sat down with reporters as to what that meant to him, getting the game ball from London Fletcher.
That's part special, to be able to do that for the city and this jersey and have him be the guy that presents it to you is special. Because I remember when I reached out to him, and I remember it was no questions asked. He took my phone call. He answered all my questions. He would check on me, see how I was doing. And my whole goal was just to try to make him proud. And I never thought I would be wearing the same jersey as him. And to be in that same locker room with that energy and having him be the person to present that to me is something I'll never forget.
He needed 5 tackles going into the game to get it. Got it in the fourth quarter and was asked, were you doing a little calculation in your head as the game went on?
I didn't track it, It was my coaches and my teammates. They were telling me. So the first half, they were like, man, you're not doing nothing. I was like, yo, we're in a good spot, though, so it don't matter. I think George called down and said he got 5, and then Norton told me, and then they started celebrating. And I was just like, yo, let's win the game. Let's not have this happen and lose.
Yeah. I mean, that would really be empty to finish up a 4-13 season, but get to 2,000 tackles. As for Dan Quinn, and I've said this a number of times over the 2 years that Bobby Wagner has been here, I liken him to Jack Pardee. And when George Allen came here as the coach in 1971, he had been fired by the Rams because he didn't get along with the owner. And he also didn't do well in the postseason. Postseason was a lot different in those days. You had only one game. You had a Western Division and an Eastern Division, and the 2 winners would face off for the right to go. Well, first the Super Bowl. It expanded some when the merger happened in 1970. But 1971, George Allen arrived, and he had to have Jack Pardee. Jack Pardee was sort of his coach on the field when he was coaching with the Rams and for 2 years when he was here with the Redskins. Pardee played only 2 years and then transitioned to coaching. But I've felt that about Wagner as well. And Dan Quinn's got a long history with him, going back to when he was a young player with Seattle, and they won a Super Bowl together. And now to have reached this point, this was Quinn expressing what it meant to him to see Wagner get to 2,000 tackles.
I was super proud. In fact, it was like a cool moment tonight, John, that I asked London to be in the locker room as well. So for only 3 players in the history of our game to have over 2,000 tackles with Ray and London and Wags now part of it, it's fitting. He's the best tackler I've coached, and so Like to have that happen, like you could see how important we were for that. I looked at the stat line at the half, and I was not so, okay, let's blitz him, let's get some more tackles. But in true Wags fashion, he will find a way. He's remarkable in so many ways. I showed the team yesterday, just got his MBA from Howard with a 4.0. Like, of course he did. Like, why would he get a B in anything? Like, that's be so un-Wags-like in so many ways. So I was really happy that London was there too, John, because these are two guys I said, man, like, don't stand too close. These guys will tackle you to the parking lot, in the locker room. Like, it's what they do. But it's pretty rare to have those two guys together, and so that was important for me to have London. I asked him, please come down early so you could be here from the radio broadcast, and so to see those two guys together at different times, different eras, but very cool.
Yeah, you heard Quinn say that Wagner had gotten his MBA from Howard. He's 35 years old. You put him one-on-one coverage with a running back these days. Yeah, so there's questions whether he just played his last game, but they are questions that he would not answer last night.
I haven't thought about anything outside today. I'm just grateful that we got a win today, and I like how we fought, and we were able to kind of close it out from a defensive standpoint, and something to be proud of.
Okay, so there's there's no reason to announce it now, but there's going to have to be some decisions made going into free agency, because he is going to be a free agent. Let's remember that he's on a 1-year deal. I don't know if they'd be interested in bringing him back, maybe on a veteran minimum. If he's interested in doing that, who knows? But here's where they are, and these are numbers from the Post today. They have about $89 million in salary cap. Now, that could change depending on who they release and restructure and things like that. There is also the issue of the coordinators. And you could say Joe Witt is certainly gone. And it would seem Raheem Morris, if he's interested, or maybe he wants to sit out a year and kind of look at the landscape. But if Raheem Morris wants to coach next year, I would think he would be Dan Quinn's first choice. I mean, they went to a Super Bowl together in Atlanta, and it was Morris who replaced Quinn as the interim. They have history together, and I would think that would be a good choice. Morris has been here before. He's been an assistant with the Redskins, so that might be something that you want to keep an eye on. Quinn did mention the possibility of calling the defensive signals next year, but I don't know whether that's going to happen. Then we get to Kingsbury. Now, a year ago, it was, well, is he going to stay? Because everybody in the league is going to be after him. Look at what he did. He developed Jaden Daniels, draft a quarterback, get Kingsbury to coach him. Well, now that's a little fuzzy. And the offense, you could say, well, that's a victim of quarterbacks. I mean, for God's sakes, you had 39-year-old Josh Johnson quarterbacking the last two games. Marcus Mariota played well at times, not so much at others. Jaden Daniels didn't have the year even when he played like he played last year. Also, a lot of mistakes offensively. They had 3 more false start penalties yesterday. That's 33 for the season. That's most in the league from this season. They turned the ball over twice yesterday. I don't blame that on Kingsbury, but Kingsbury runs this type of offense, the no huddle, hurry up offense, which doesn't seem to match up with a defensive coach in Dan Quinn. I was kind of surprised that they matched up together when Quinn was hiring his staff. Turned out to be great last year, and now there are reports that he is feuding with, or they're at odds. Adam Peters and Kingsbury are at odds, either how the players are being used or what the offense is or whatever. This is Diana Rossini reporting that. So Kingsbury, if he doesn't get a head coaching offer, will they absolutely fire him? I don't know. They would have to do that, or he might be interested, might get some interest in a coordinator's job somewhere else. The Commanders would have to give permission for that, because when you make a lateral move, the team that you're with would have to okay that. So I don't know how that would work. But the offense ranks in the 20s in yards per game rather than the top 10 like they were last year. Injuries have had a lot to do with that as well. They got to fill the quarterback coach job. I wonder if Josh Johnson might be a possibility for that. But the Kingsbury question is a really big one. And I believe on social media, Jaden Daniels' mother last night expressed support for Kingsbury. So that's coming from the two of them. That's That may be Jaden Daniels saying, well, look at the great success I had in year one, and I want to duplicate that next year with Kingsbury. Or it could be more of a power struggle in the organization. There's a lot of things that go into this, and that's going to be something that's, I think, going to be the most interesting part of the coaching staff in the offseason. Will Cliff Kingsbury be back as the offensive coordinator? Then you got free agent decisions. They have to cut bait on Marshawn Lattimore. That turned out to be a disaster. Deron Payne, I thought he was going to be a free agent coming up, but I guess he's got a year left on his contract. So they've got a question there. Do you trade him? Could that be like a Jonathan Allen thing where they just cut him loose? I don't know. But I don't know if they're going to bring him back at that price for next year. Then you got Deebo Samuel. You're going to have a second receiver with Terry McLaurin. So I would think that that's a real possibility that they give him a contract extension. Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey played well at times this year. Looks like Lane is going to be their kick returner, and McCaffrey has stepped up a bit, but he got hurt. The question is, do you want to bring all three of those guys back? Lane and McCaffrey are still on rookie deals. You'd have to give Deebo some money. But I would think since he only missed one game this year, the durability thing, I'd bring him back, if the price is right, obviously. And then I mentioned the Bobby Wagner thing, 35 years old. He does have the great locker room presence. He's got this great – if you watch the video – when Bobby Wagner was presented with the game ball by London Fletcher last night, you see Jaden Daniels in a sweatshirt standing right next to Bobby Wagner and cheering like a high school kid. So clearly they got something going on there. I just don't know if you want to bring Bobby Wagner back as a full-time player next year. Back in the days when they had the platoon defense where Richie Pettibone used to have like they call them the run dogs, like Neil Olkowitz, and then he had the pass defending linebackers like Monty Coleman, and he would shuffle them in and out. They don't do it that way anymore. But yes, if you had a role for Bobby Wagner, like on short yardage, that might make a lot of sense. But I'm not sure that's going to be the case. Here are the unrestricted free agents, and I'll just check them off here. Excuse me. Noah Brown, gone. Can't stay healthy. Treylon Burks, yeah, at the right price. Bring him to camp. Defensive lineman Sheldon Day, maybe. Jeff Driscoll, Chase Edmonds, Austin Eckler probably is done. I can't imagine they're going to re-sign him coming off the Achilles at the age of 32. Zach Ertz off a serious knee injury. I don't think he comes back. George Fant, Eddie Goldman, Antonio Hamilton, Jalen Holmes, maybe. Secondary, very much up in the air. Noah Igbenogany, you bring him back, maybe. Defensive end, Drake Jackson, Tyree Jackson, tight end, maybe. Josh Johnson, sure, why not? Cornerback, Jonathan Jones, maybe. Marcus Mariota is going to be an interesting one. Do you bring Marcus Mariota back for a third year if he wants to come back? I say yes. I mean, he was here for what he was supposed to be here for, to fill in. He's got a great relationship with Jaden Daniels. If he wants to play here another year, I'd bring him back. I would. He might be one of the highest paid backups in the league, but I think he's worth it. Then you got guys like Jeremy McNichol. Do you bring back Von Miller? Von Miller is, 36 now? I think he's older than Wagner. But he had another sack yesterday, and I think that's 8 on the year, 9. He earned a $500,000 bonus for that, so I think that's one to consider there. And then you got these, street free agents they brought in, like Preston Smith. I don't think he comes back. Dietrich Wise coming off an injury. We'll see. Andrew Widley, do you re-sign him? He's been kind of a pretty good swing tackle, maybe. Chris Rodriguez is restricted, maybe, and then Jake Moody's unrestricted. Fine, just find yourself another kicker. The search goes on, and then they're picking 7th in the draft. What are they going to do? They need defensive guys, no question about it. If you watch Texas Tech play, their offense was terrible, but their defense is great. And David Bailey is a name to keep in mind as an edge rusher. So the usual decisions that have to be made in the offseason, but the decisions are different in some ways going into this season because of the record and because of the injuries and because of the age catching up with the guys like Eckler and Ertz. But you got to remember this. You still have Jaden Daniels under a rookie deal. And with $89 million in cap room, I think you still go for it because the opportunity is better now than it's going to be, assuming Daniels doesn't, go the RG3 route. And at the end of 4 years, they have to make a decision whether to extend him or not. I mean, it seems like a stretch at this point. You hope he gets back to form that he had in 2024. But assuming that he does, this is the go for it year again. You got to do it. It didn't work out with Marshawn Lattimore. Understood. But I think that's something that that you have to absolutely look for. All right, coming up, much more on the Commanders and what's ahead in the offseason. And Phillip Rivers talks about what was essentially a dream. It was a dream. They didn't win, but it was a dream. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630. In the midst of his one season as head coach in Washington, Richie Pettibone, who had finished 1993 at 4-12, he would say from time to time, if we didn't have bad luck, we wouldn't have any luck at all. Injury after injury after injury helped to derail that season. And Richie, I don't think really ever got his fair shot after being a great defensive coordinator. Injury situation wasn't much better this year. They had 31 players hurt, 158 missed games. I believe the number for Philadelphia, as I heard yesterday during the broadcast, was 28 missed games because of injuries, which was low in the league. So that has to change. It's availability is the biggest stability in the NFL, and that was part of the key to success in 2024 is that they stayed healthy. And Jaden Daniels, who managed to play only 7 games this past season, managed to make all 20 starts last year. It was out with injuries here and there, but other than that, that's what you want. You want your star players on the field, and that didn't happen. And so much, like early on, they were counting on Austin Eckler for so many things this year, and he went out in the second game of the season with a torn Achilles. And so now that's something that has to be addressed in the offseason, that they get younger and they get deeper. That's going to be the key to what they do moving forward. Bobby Wagner, will they move on from him, or will he move on from them? We don't know. He was non-committal about that last night. He's just got his master's from Howard. He's 35 years old, and we're starting to see, as great as he's been for the 2 years and a tackling machine, he just became the third player in NFL history with 2,000 tackles. One of them's in the Hall of Fame in Ray Lewis, and one may get there in London Fletcher, and Bobby Wagner certainly is going to be there. But he's played on Super Bowl teams before, teams that went back-to-back in Seattle, and has been a key factor in this team achieving what they did last year in 2024. And, you hate to blame everything on injuries, but injuries were a big factor this year.
Honestly, I think a lot of the things that we had were a lot of injuries. We had a lot of, situations injury-wise that played a role, and I think there's so much talent in this room, and you just have to build on that. I think there's a lot of young guys poised to make a jump next year, and that's where the injury's at.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I mean, that's really the NFL. That's the ball game. Teams that have healthy rosters are usually the teams that are in the best position to do what they need to do. As far as what we saw from Josh Johnson, maybe in his farewell game, he had to start back-to-back games. Dan Quinn with kind of a melancholy hats off to what he did. And also Von Miller. Von Miller, by getting a sack yesterday in the fourth quarter, earned a $500,000 bonus. That's a guy who I wonder if they'll bring back. Even though he's 36 years old, if he comes back on the veteran minimum as a part-time player, he is big in the pass rush, and I think for a third down guy might be one to consider. But if this is farewell to both the aging players, this was Quinn with his own farewell.
Afterwards, you could feel his excitement as head coaches and quarterbacks. The wins and losses they get attached to you, and so for him to have one and fight for it, that was a really big deal. He'd really put in the work. You guys probably saw we played a little bit differently with Josh compared to Jaden and Marcus, but it was effective for him, and I think that was a good sign. And then for Vaughn, we were just talking before we had come in. about, he goes, I remember you picking me up. We went out to lunch together. We talked about some things. And, man, I'm really, honored that I got to coach him. I wish I'd coached him for all the years because of the uniqueness that he brings. But when anybody's really, really good at something, there's a lot of detail that goes into it. And that's what I've learned, from him. And, man, I'm the one that's on the grateful side because I learned a lot.
Yeah. And there's the exit interviews, which Quinn has today, and he says he always learns a lot from that. As for Josh Johnson, a remarkable story in the NFL that he came in 2007 and now has 11 career starts and 2 victories, number 2 yesterday.
What's it like to get the win? It's unexplainable, man. I know to the rest of the world this might not mean nothing, but just the journey I've been on. Last time I was in this building, I thought my career was over. And to just go out here and just win today, not just win, but how we win, man. It was like adversity, interception. We fumbled a snap. Defense stood tall. But for us to come together as a unit and not waver and get this W, man, I think it was a great one. I think that's the best thing I could say.
Yeah, it's a great way to walk off the field. If that's it for him, it's a great way to exit. And as far as, what we've seen in these last 18 years since he came into the NFL, in and out, various leagues, mostly as a third stringer. I think there were high hopes for him when he was a rookie with Tampa Bay, and they hoped that he would eventually develop into a starter, but that never happened. And, he's just been the kind of guy that they're okay having around as a third-string guy. I mean, everybody has a role in life, and that seems to be his.
You got to internalize a lot in my position, and you got to stay the course, and you got to be disciplined to a lot of things, and you got to kind of be borderline a little, I guess crazy is the word, because you got to, but it's now, I'm going to use the word faith. You got to really be faithful, and you got to really listen. For me, I got to listen to the Spirit when it talks to me, because when I came here in 23 and I had the 2 concussions, I thought it was over. I thought it was over, and I prayed on it, and I just got closer with God, and he just told me, just keep going, man. Just keep going and don't waver. Take gratitude in the small victories, whether that be getting a rep, whether that be getting there and just handing the ball off. Those things mean something in this league. And so for me, I just focused on those things and, was able to get this opportunity today. And I just want to just go out there and just show my gratitude and my style of play.
And I just wonder if he's going to join the coaching staff. To me, he'd be a prime candidate to be a quarterback's coach because he's been everywhere. He's worked in every system. And there could be very well a new system coming in next year with Cliff Kingsbury either being pushed out. Maybe he gets a head coaching job, but there was a report from Diana Rossini last week that there is friction between Adam Peters, the general manager, and Kingsbury, the way he's using the players. And, frankly, the system is no huddle, and you can go out quickly on a 3 and out, and you don't give the defense much rest. You got a defensive head coach in Dan Quinn. I'm not sure that they're a great fit together anyway. So Johnson, who's worked in every single system, might be a good fit to stick around as a quarterback's coach and help in that transition. And obviously, they liked having him around. Now, the question is, what's with Sam Hartman? They've kept him around for 2 years on the practice squad. He was god-awful in the preseason. That's why he didn't win the third-string job. Do you bring him back next year? And then they got Mariota to think about, too. Do they bring Mariota back? Does he want to come back here? I don't think he's going to retire, and this might be the best opportunity for him to stay here in Washington. And, he's probably one of the higher-paid backup quarterbacks in the NFL. So stay tuned, as we say, but things are going to start to happen today with locker cleanout. Again, Raheem Morris released last night, fired as head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. He's got history with Dan Quinn. I could see him coming in as a defensive coordinator. And Kevin Stefanski got the boot from the Browns today after 6 years. I would think that he might wind up with a head coaching job. Maybe look for him to go to the Giants. I think that's very much in the wind, and we'll see where that goes. I don't know how much of this college football playoff stuff you've been watching, but I've been watching more of it because my son went to Indiana, and Indiana's in, and it's cool and everything. But you see on the Miami sideline, it's crazy. They've got Ray Lewis hanging there, and Michael Irvin is he's wild on the sidelines. He's jumping up and down. He's running across the sidelines. He's running up, watching what's happening close to the field. He is crazed about his Hurricanes. He's one of the great players in the program history. I get it. But you guys nearing 60. I think he's about to turn 60. And he's running around like he's a teenager. Irvin showed up on the Rich Eisen show last week to explain how he comports himself on the sideline.
Okay, let me explain to people. Like, I can't just sit still, right? I have to be in front of our offense like I'm helping them, saying, come on this way, pull this way. And then behind the defense like I'm trying to stop the other offense. So yeah, I just get into it like that. I can't sit still. As a matter of fact, when I was doing an interview on the sideline the other day, that's when the team started coming back because they had me standing still in one spot. I had to tell them, I got to cut this short, man. I got to get back in front of the offense, man, so I can pull them. I can do my piece. And so it just got crazy, man. I told them I got to get out of here. But once I got out from under the interview and went over there and got in front, it's like caution. Oh, come on, y'all, come this way. If it's 3rd and 5, I take 5 steps this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then start pulling so we can get the first down. That's just how I watch the game.
No, I know how superstitious you are. All those years with game day morning, you would wear the colors of the team that the Cowboys were facing. You know, you would wear the Eagles green on a day the Cowboys were taking on the Eagles. I saw all of that. I had a front row seat for all of that.
Right. I don't know. Why do we like that, though? Why are fans, why do we believe we are affecting the game in some way? It blows my mind, man, but I just love it.
It's a way that you feel that you can control the uncontrollable. Is Ray Lewis the same way? What are you and Ray like watching the game?
No, Ray sits, he's still Adrian James, Andre Johnson. Those guys are, they're more calm. They're more calm. So.
I think everyone's more calm, Michael, than you are. I mean, you know what I mean? That goes without saying. But I'm just wondering, does Ray even try to tamp it down for you?
All the time.
He does.
All the time. All the time. Ray calm. Ray, hey, calm your black head.
That's what he's telling you? That's what he's
Ray
telling you?
say that all the time. Ray said that to me all the time, man. I just laugh and go grab him and hug on him, man. Because those defensive guys can't take that. They can't take it. They can't take all the affection stuff. So when they get mad at you, just go back on them, try to kiss them.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop. Get off me, man. Leave me alone. That kind of stuff.
I bet.
But then my boys, Rich, it was so great being on the sideline with my boys again, all of that, man. And the conversations we had early on when we were all going to Miami about, how we want to build it and what we wanted to become. And then, we talked about our kids possibly going here and now seeing what one of ours, Coach Cristobal, come back and doing what he's doing with it is insane. It's incredible. And it's a great feeling. And it was so great because Coach Cristobal, even Coach Johnson went up to him and he said, Coach, come on now, the game ain't not over. We got to make sure until it's all the way over, And he said that's what Coach Johnson would have been saying, that's what he got taught under. So, it's great to see family bringing family along this way.
Yeah, and it looks like, again, Coach Jimmy and Coach Cristobal, they're doing an old school it segment from Game Day morning.
Yeah, you remember them days? Oh, my God, man. Yeah.
I know Sapp was in the stands. Sapp was in the stands. Everyone's there. Everyone's there.
Yeah.
And, I was with you on that night in spirit. You know that, Michael. And it's not just because my nephew Lee went to the U.
Right.
But who you were playing against.
That night we had.
Who you were playing against.
That's right.
Okay. You had a whole alumni base from Ann Arbor, Michigan in your corner that night. But I mean, you saw that too. You saw kids like Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese. Those are beasts who are coming to the next level. So in all seriousness, though, what do you think makes this Hurricanes team a threat to win it all right now, Michael?
Honestly, Rich, I don't know if even saying what we're saying, we give them enough credit for what they've done. And I look at it, and I'm on the sideline. I get to see things pretty close up and a great job done by all of the coaches, Dawson, coordinator, everybody. But the thing I hone in on a lot is, because that's what I did when I was playing, the big guys. It's always the big guys. And Mario Cristobal being a big guy, and then having Jason Taylor working with that defensive line. Those two have put the focus where we needed it, offense and defensive line, and you're seeing the results. We've always had talented, skill set people, but when we opened up against Alabama a couple of years ago, I looked at our line, I looked at their line, I said, no shot here, bro. You know what I mean? It was no shot. It was Bryce Young's first game. I remember that. I was, oh my God, look at this line. Now when I look at that line and I go to that offensive line, yeah, we got a shot every time because of those guys.
And he mentioned Mario Cristobal. He was an offensive lineman on two of Miami's national championship teams. So he's got an emphasis on the offensive line for sure, and probably the defensive line as well. But, yeah, just crazy to see Urban acting nuts on the sideline. They got Edgerrin James down there along with Ray Lewis. Just crazy. Some of these guys, you know, are on the team. They may know who Ray Lewis is, but they don't remember Edgerrin James, and they certainly don't remember Michael Irvin. You know, even with the great success that he had with the Dallas Cowboys, that's 30 years ago. That's a different time, different place. So it's fun to see what's going on there, and a lot of great stories. They now are matching up against Ole Miss. Ole Miss would seem to be a mess because some of the coaches are already employed at LSU, and they're working now at Ole Miss. They expected to be out of there. They got the portal open now. They got to get, new players in there. Lane Kiffin's getting his program underway. So some are staying, some are going, but you never know. And if this winds up like a Steve Fisher thing, where Bo Schembechler famously said, "I want a Michigan man coaching my team," and Bill Frieder had already taken the Arizona State job, and Bo Schembechler said, "Get the hell out. We're going to go with Steve Fisher." This might be the same thing that could happen with Ole Miss. That Lane Kiffin is out. The players say, "Get out. Stop trying to take the shine away from us. We're moving on." It's a crazy story. And then the Oregon game against Indiana, obviously big stuff in my house as they match up on Friday night with the two winners matching up on the 19th for the national championship in Miami. Anyway, that wraps it up for me. Bram is coming up next, and I will see you back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.